The longer and more regularly someone watches television, the more easily their brain slips into something called alpha mode. Alpha wave falls in the middle of the brainwave spectrum. Your brain produces these waves when you're not focusing too hard on anything in particular. Whatever you're doing, you're probably feeling relatively calmed and relaxed when you're in this state. These waves measure between 8 and 12 Hz. This is a slow and steady brainwave pattern in which the mind is in its most receptive and most vulnerable mode. Although you are fully aware of what you are seeing on the TV screen, many suggestions and images are being rendered by the subconscious part of your mind, without viewer participation. At this point, there is an effective level of hypnosis which is induced, in which the viewer no longer has their guard up. Anyone on the spectrum between this alpha level and falling asleep, your mind has become increasingly vulnerable to suggestive programming such as advertisement and subliminal messages. The psychological effects and physiological effects of mind control is something that is acknowledged by the scientific community. That's because governments all around the world, by their own admission, have been testing us for decades. In fact, Dr. Jose Delgado and the CIA were working on mind control methods back in the 1960s. Here is some of that publicly available footage.
In the 1960s, Professor Jose Delgado took a normally hostile bull and implanted electrodes into its brain. Electrodes that could be activated by a radio transmitter. His objective was to see if stimulation of the bull's midbrain could short-circuit the rage signals, stopping the bull before it reached the matador. After the bull had recovered from the implantation and in mid-charge, the button was pressed. The bull's aggression ceased instantly. A clearer experiment was performed with cats. In this classic example, the hypothalamus, the rhythm maker, was implanted with electrodes. Could it be responsible not just for rhythms, but also for rage? The switch is turned. Then the switch is turned off.
Electronic mind control research is not new. A scientific milestone in this area came in the 1960s when Dr. Jose Delgado demonstrated remote control over a charging bull.
We could modify the inside. Could we give messages to the inside? But the beauty is that now we are not using electrodes.
In recent years, Delgado has shown that the behavior of monkeys can be altered using low-power, pulsating magnetic fields. But in these experiments, there were no antenna implants.
Any function in the brain, emotions, intellect, personality, well, could be perhaps modified by this non-invasive technology.
Delgado's research has so far been limited to animals. But in the Soviet Union, a radio frequency, or RF device, has been used for over 30 years to manipulate the moods of mental patients.
If you want to see just how far this technology is coming along, there is a lot of publicly made information available on this topic. The true extent of this technology will never be known due to the fact that military research technology is so many years ahead of the public market. However, something everybody should be looking up is this Google patent number, US 6506148B2. This is a patent which maps out how to manipulate the nervous system of a human through the use of electromagnetic fields, which can be emulated on TV screens and computer monitors very effectively. But for the sake of time, I just want to read for you the abstract given by its author. Physiological effects have been observed in the human subject in response to stimulation of the skin with weak electromagnetic fields that are pulsed with certain frequencies near the half Hz or 2 Hz range, such as to excite sensory resonance. Many computer monitors and TV tubes when displaying pulsed images emit pulsed electromagnetic fields of sufficient amplitudes to cause such excitations. It is therefore possible to manipulate the nervous system of a subject by pulsing images displayed on a nearby computer monitor or TV set. For the latter, the image pulsing may be embedded in the programming material, or it may be overlaid by a modulating video stream, either as an RF signal or as a video signal. The image displayed on the computer monitor may be pulsed effectively by a simple computer program. For certain monitors, pulsed electromagnetic fields capable of exciting sensory resonances in the subjects may be generated even as the displayed images are pulsed with subliminal intensity." Unquote. The implementation of this technology is already widespread and in global usage. One thing the public is becoming more aware of is the reversal of this technology, where humans, using their thoughts, are able to control technological devices such as computers, software protocols, and even video games. On a recent TEDx talk, a scientist spoke about exactly this, and I quote, "Our vision is to introduce this whole new realm of human interaction into human-computer interaction, so computers can understand not only what you direct it to, but it can also respond to your facial expressions and emotional experiences. And what better way to do this than by interpreting the signals naturally produced by our brains, our center for control and experience." Unquote. For copyright reasons, I can't show very much of this video, but I recommend you check it out for yourself. Links in the description below.
Differentiate between different distinct thoughts. And once you've trained up the detections, these thoughts can be assigned or mapped to any computing platform, application, or device.
What would it take to reverse this technology, controlling human thought through technology, whether it's microsuggestive messages or complete physiological manipulation? Images of violence stimulate the fight or flight part of our brains, our instinctual nature. But because it would be absurd to react to television violence, the viewer is able to shut off this emotion subconsciously. Viewers become pulled back and forth between impulse and suppression, which ultimately causes confusion. This causes dopamine levels to become manipulated, and it gives you a surge of frantic thinking, which is commonly associated with childhood hyperactivity. The effects are additional given more exposure. Keep in mind the average person in the West watches between 4 and 6 hours television a day. Now, with this information in mind, if there was no mainstream media reporting on COVID-19, would you even know a pandemic existed? If there was no media talk on racism and George Floyd, would there even be protests and riots going on right now? These are the types of questions we should be asking when trying to determine just how effective the weaponization of culture and media has become. With all of that said and done,